In this lesson, we're going to create the bump map for the nucleus using multiple procedural shaders. Let's open up the hypershade and start working on the bump shader. Again, move your mouse over the work area and press space, so this way the hypershade will fill the entire viewport. Now let's open the nucleus base that we created in the previous lesson. Click and select the nucleus base. Now click on the small icons that has two arrows. This will show the input and output connections that are linked into the shader. For the bump shader, I'm going to be using another procedural texture, but this time I'm going to be using a 3D texture. And for this one, I'm going to be using wood. Wood is a really good example, a really good shader when trying to create an organical looking bump map, or even a diffuse map, a diffuse shader. I'm going to start by renaming this nucleus bump. Double click on it so we can open the attribute editor, and let's start doing some tweaks to this so we can get the look that we're going for. First, I'm going to start tweaking the filler and the vine color. For the filler color, I'm going to go with the lighter gray, and for the vine color, I'm going with the darker gray, just so we can get a more bump-friendly colors for the bump shader. So we can see so we can see the tweaks that we're doing clearer. Just select the nucleus bump and press F. This way, it will focus on the shader, and it will be far much easier to us to see the tweaks that we're doing. The second thing I'm going to tweak is the age. You're going to notice when we start adding some more age to this shader, we'll see that it's going to be adding a lot of more ripples to it. And I think something around 8, it's a good number. For the grain color, I'm not going to be needing any grain for this particular bump shader, but for now, for this example, I'm just going to keep them on so you can see the result that we're going to get with the grain and without the grain. Now, what I want from this shader is I really don't want this perfect circles, ripples happening, because nothing in nature is this perfect. So I really want to break these apart. So the easiest way to do that is just to add some noise attribute. So open up the noise attribute, scroll down a bit, and in the amplitude X and Y, I'm just going to add 1. Go ahead and play around with the ratio, just to get the effect that you're looking for. And I'm going to add some ripples in the X, Y, and Z. In the X, I'm going to add 2. In the Y, I'm going to add 5, and in the Z, I'm going to add 2. Please feel free to add any numbers you like, because I'm using these numbers just because I know the result that I'm going to get. And because check this out, if you want to add like 10 ripples in the X, this will repeat 10 times the ripples on the X. In the Y, the same. I'm going to add more ripples on the Y and so on. But for this example, I'm going to use 2, 5, and 2. Once you're happy with the result, I'm going to go ahead and link the nucleus bump with the nucleus shader that we just created, the nucleus bump shader that we created, into the nucleus bump slot. So select the nucleus base color, scroll down till we get to the bump and normal mapping, middle click and drag the nucleus bump over the map. This will add some bump effect to the nucleus base color. So let's go ahead into the perspective and zoom in a bit, and let's do a test render. See how that looks. And this is the result that we get. And this is why I was saying that I don't want any grain into the wood shader, because we're going to get a really grainy bump map, and I really don't want that. I just want some nice lines effect and a bit of texture to it, just that wood has to offer. So I'm going to keep this for comparison, and we're going to head over into hypershade, and we'll start tweaking this. And we'll just go into the nucleus bump, and just under grain contrast put that to 0, and grain spacing have that to 0 as well. This will remove the grain from the shader. So if we do a test render now, this is the result that we get, and this is more what I'm looking for. I want this to have some type of grain on it, some type of texture, and I'm looking for this nice edges on it that the wood shader has to offer. And you see the difference. This one we don't see any detail that we added on the diffuse map, and I really don't want that. Although this is starting to look interesting, I really want to add more and more layers to this and make it look more organic. So to do that, I'm going to be adding two more procedural shaders into the nucleus bump. For the first one, I'm going to be using a 2D. For this first one, I'm going to be using a ramp, which we're going to add into the vine color. So let's go into 2D textures, select ramp. Again, rename the ramp vine color. I'm naming it vine color just because we're going to drop this into the vine color. Again, select the vine color, press F, we can focus on it. For this one, I'm going to be using again dark gray and light gray colors. Before we start adding the color, just make sure the interpolation is set to none. Just as in the previous lesson, we just want some hard looking vines over the surface of the nucleus. So for the first color, I'm going to go with a darker gray, and for the second one, I'm going to go with a light gray. Right. Again, feel free to choose any type of colors you think fits your project. If you want the bump map to be more higher and more sharper, you can make these white. But I'm going for more of a soft look to it, so so a light gray will do just fine for the look that I'm going for. But again, feel free to create any type of play around with these settings to get the look that you're going for, and just play around with the positions of these. I'm just using these because I'm looking for a particular result. Alright, now for this one I'm going to be using a V-ramp, and I want to add some waving to it. I remember when we did that for the vines color and diffuse color, for this one we used the U ramp. Now for this one I'm going to be using a V ramp. So when tweaking the waves, make sure you tweak the V wave, so we add some nice waviness to this. And again, I want to break these up. The easiest way to do that is to add some noise and just tweak just get the noise frequency lower, just because I don't want the noise to be that frequent on the sample. You can see it here. If we raise this, you're going to see it repeat itself. So just keep the noise around, I don't know, 2, noise frequency around 4, something like that. Again, feel free to play around with these to get the look that you're going for. Once you're happy with this, let's go ahead and drop this into the nucleus bump. Select the nucleus bump, middle click and drag the vine color into the vine color. Now click on the nucleus bump, press F, and you can barely see these under the wood. If I go ahead and just tweak this a bit, just to add some, like the vine spread, just to make the vines more bigger and more visible. You can see the vines underneath the wood, which adds a nice layer to it. So we have a more complex shape now. Now, if we do a test render now, alright, let me go to perspective. We do a test render now. I'm going to keep this. This is the look that we get. These are the small vines that we added just now. So on top of this, I want to have some splotches, spherical splotches on top of the surface. And for that, I'm going to be using another procedural shader. And for this example, I'm going to be using a 3D texture, a leather. Again, go ahead and rename this. Hold Control and double click on the name and name this filler color. I'm naming this filler color because this is going to be inside the filler color. Alright. Close the attribute editor. Now double click on the filler color and let's start tweaking this so we get the look that we're going for. Again, for the cell color, I'm going to go with the white color, and for the crease color, I'm going to go with the darker gray. Again, feel free to play around with these settings. For the density, for the cell side, I'm going to go with the big cell size, just so I don't get a lot of splotches on the surface of this. So I'm going to go with 3. I'm going to keep it to 1 now, just so you can see the effect. I'm going to press F so we can focus on this. The spottiness, I'm going to add some spottiness to it. The spottiness will make these creases or these cells more spherical, and add some randomness to it. I'm going to tweak down this threshold just to get a nice fall off between the white and the gray. So we now get a nice fall off between the two, because if you raise this, you're going to see you get a really harsh white, then we go to gray, and then we're going to get like a flat surface. Then we're going to see a bump, and I really don't want that. I just want a nice soft look to this. Alright, now if you do a test render, alright, I forgot to link this to the nucleus bump. Now select the nucleus bump, middle click and drag the filler color and drop it into the filler color. And now let's do now a test render. And this is the result that we get. And I'm not looking for this. I just want, this is why I was saying I want to get like 3 spheres, like only a couple of big splotches on it. The other thing I really don't like about this is you can see these creases, which are really useful when you're doing a leather shader. But for this example, I'm not going for a leather shader. I just want some splotches, and it's a really easy fix. Just head back to the filler color, the leather color shader, and where you have creases, just uncheck crease. This will happen. It will make these stand like on their own and have like spherical spots with a nice fall off between gray and white. But if we add creases, it will add these edges between them. So this is the look that I'm going for. Now make the cell size 3. Alright, I'm going to save this for comparison, do another render. And this is the look that I'm going for. So you can see we do have a couple of splotches on this one, and maybe if we rotate the camera a bit and maybe do a render from see, we're gonna get some nice, gives us a nice effect. We see like we have a really layered, we can see like there is something inside of this nucleus, and we have some nice effects on it. Again, feel free to play around with these to get the look that you're going for. In the next lesson, we will be using a V-Ray blend material to add some nice effects to the nucleus, and then we can start working on the cell membrane.